G'day guys, and welcome back to the Daily Discomfort Podcast. Today we're on episode 4 and we're going to be discussing something that is so fundamental and driven into the purpose of why the Daily Discomfort exists, and that is community and connection for men. Before we dive deeper into the topic, I would like you to ask yourself the question, when was the last time you had a real conversation with another bloke? When was the last time that you skipped over the general chitter chatter and actually asked some deeper questions, actually opened up a little bit more, and were maybe acting a little bit more vulnerably with your thoughts and with your emotions and where you're currently at in life? Sadly, for a lot of us guys, we don't often have these conversations. And I honestly don't think it is something that we should be having all day long. But I think the more conversations that we have like this, where we're discussing deeper topics, and maybe it is talking about your own mental health and well-being, or just things that are important to you in your life, and not just having short talk just to fill the space, just to fill the awkward silences. Now you might be asking, why do we even need to have these conversations? Why do we need to be digging a little bit deeper? Well, I don't think it's unbeknown to you or I that mental health is a massive fucking issue in Australia and internationally. If we are to work on fixing that, then for us as men, we need to work on opening up to each other and having these deeper discussions to actually talk about how we're going and what things are bothering us in our life. And it's not only just to share emotion and share the fact that you're always anxious or you're always depressed or you feel lost or you feel like you've lost your purpose in life, but it's also to create conversations where you can create a space where a mate knows that he can call you out and challenge you for something that you said you were going to do, but you didn't. You create a space where it's less hostile and where people don't walk on eggshells as much, because a lot of conversations that people usually don't have become taboo. And amongst men, there's obviously this well-known stigma when it comes to mental health. And the biggest thing that we need to do when we look at working on this and improving the state of mental health globally is just making it a normal thing to have these discussions. Now, the issue is, and the main reason a lot of us guys don't have these discussions, is because we feel if we expose ourselves, it's going to be used against us. So if we are vulnerable, if people do see a weakness within us, that they can use that objectively to tear us down at times. What we need to think about here is that these sorts of issues and these beliefs comes from deeper root causes. I myself had struggled a lot in my life and still continue to struggle to develop trust for other people and particularly for other men at times. But you've got to remember that these are going to be limiting beliefs that hold you back in future. So it doesn't mean that you can't have any alarm bells ringing, you can't set any boundaries, but you really do need to understand that for your own sake and for the sake of your mates, your family, other guys in your life, we need to work on creating this space together that we can be more open and that we aren't so insecure and that we aren't holding on to past beliefs and experiences that hold us back from growing, not just in our careers or in our physicality through our fitness, but also holding us back on an emotional and a psychological level, because that will allow us to also be not only more open and being able to hold space and have deeper conversations with other males, but also with our partners, with our sisters, with your mother, your grandmother. There's not this macho act all the time, like you've got to be this tough persona. So in its most general terms, we're talking about having this deeper connection and building community for guys who struggle with mental health. When I think about the Daily Discomfort, and more specifically the Daily Discomfort Run Club, I was at a time in my life where I felt quite alone, but I also still felt grounded. I had habits that held me down and kept me on path. I felt like I was still on a bit of a mission. So when you actually lose that side of things, when you feel like you lose your purpose at times, sometimes you can get lost in that point for a very long time. And I think one of the best things for guys who are either struggling with their mental health or who have lost their purpose or they're just lacking clarity is to get around a community of people who are on that path or who are struggling with similar things, because then it's more relatable and you can start to connect to people on that deeper level. It's very hard to connect to other people who you can't relate to. If you're someone that's worked in any sort of sales before, which runs in multiple different industries, you always hear this thing about building rapport. Working as a personal trainer, when you get your first sort of sales training, they're always talking about building rapport with the client. And this means that you need to be able to relate to them somehow. You find common interests, you find what their passions are, and you can share your passions with them. And realistically, that's coming from this sales tactic approach, but shouldn't that just be what we do in general? If we meet a stranger at times, what's stopping us from just having a good conversation and building up a bit of rapport? The more and more you get to know someone, the more that you find what their interests are, what their passions are, and if you can share more of that with them, then the relationship starts to deepen. So if we talk about this message today, this topic today, who is this aimed towards? It is for those guys who maybe are struggling with their mental health in the terms that they know that they've got depression, anxiety, they've got some sort of condition, or they've possibly been diagnosed, or maybe they suspect it because they're showing a lot of the symptoms. It is for that bloke, but it's also for the guy who wants to prevent themselves getting to that point. But maybe they are just feeling a little bit burnt out, a little bit fatigued, and they're just flatlining through life. So if you can identify or relate to any of that, you're probably wondering, well, where do I find these communities? And this podcast isn't just a plug for the Daily Discomfort or the Daily Discomfort Run Club in Brisbane, even though that does sound like a plug now, but it's looking online in social media spaces, looking on Google or Safari in your local area and checking what's around. And I know we're talking a lot about men's mental health and men's well-being. And if we're looking at the performance side of things as well, maybe you're a business owner, a small business owner, and you're looking to pursue entrepreneurship, I'm sure there's groups like that as well. However, it doesn't have to just be strictly a males group. It can have females in it as well, right? As long as you've got relatable people in there. But you're probably going to notice that you'll find guys that you click with well, again, based on that ability to connect to someone because you're relating to them to a higher degree. So where do we start to look for this? Like I said, go online, jump on Google, ask ChatGPT for God's sake. There's going to be so much information out there. But if you were to look up in your own area, what I would be searching for, one great thing would be a run club. They're obviously a massive thing now, and you're going to get around people who are pursuing their own health and fitness, which I think for your own personal development or for anyone struggling with mental health or just a lack of clarity or purpose, one of the first places you should get started is working on your health and fitness. And run clubs are a pretty great way to do that, in my own opinion. The other thing is just going to the gym. We'll meet some friendly people in the gym at times. My one recommendation on this, having worked in commercial gyms for the past nearly 10 years, would probably be to actually pursue more of a group fitness setting or those group class gyms. And also, I'll add to it, do your own research on their methods in that. I think there are some gyms in that setting that are better and some that aren't so good. However, the whole idea of that is that you're getting into a face-to-face community, and it's not one of those settings where you're walking into a commercial gym and everyone's got their earphones in. I'd be very surprised if there was anyone with their earphones in one of those classes. So you're actually going to be talking to more people, and again, you're in that setting where you're working on your own health and fitness. Something that I alluded to before, looking at your local business networks, or if you are someone with a specific career or profession, maybe there's people in that profession where they do have a bit of a community or a circle in your local area where you can then share obviously what you do for work. The only flip side to that would be, I'm not sure how the conversations are going to get in those areas, but at least it's a head start if you are struggling to meet relatable, like-minded people in your life. So we've obviously just started to talk about moving into new territory, new communities that you haven't experienced or been a part of before. I probably could have led with this first, but if we look at one of the biggest things to build deeper connection in your life, it's talking with the people that you already talk to. The first thing that comes to mind when I say this is the fact that Think about those times that you've had a conversation with someone and they're thinking the same thing, or you did take the conversation a little bit deeper and you just had that overwhelming feeling in a good way after it of just like, the weight's dropped off my shoulders because you said things that need to be said and it worked out quite well. Unfortunately, it doesn't always go like this. And I think that's where you need to learn how to as an individual, and all of us need to learn how to effectively communicate as individuals, this guy 110% included. If we can start to enrich the relationships that we already have, you might actually notice there's already so much value, there's already so much gold around you, and you're just one step away the whole time. You're trying to find this clarity and purpose and connection, but it was right there in front of you. It's just that no one was ready to start the deeper conversations. No one was ready to talk about the things that they were having challenges with. No one was ready to discuss the things that they were passionate about, their dreams, and they started to lose this curiosity that they had earlier in their life. And it starts to get boring. Conversations start to get boring. It's the same old shit. You hear people say this all the time. If you talk to someone that's just finished work and they've come into the gym, or you're going to grab a coffee and you see someone, what do they usually say? They're just like, yep, same shit, different way, another day, another dollar, living the dream. Although sometimes that is said enthusiastically, I think we really have drowned out a lot of the beauty that is just naturally within the people around us because we just don't have better conversations. And it's as simple as communicating a little bit more openly with people, asking the questions that you usually don't ask, saying the things that you usually don't say because you're worried about what someone thinks, or maybe if it is something confrontational, you're worried it's going to be the end of everything, but it could be the thing that really improves a relationship with someone close to you. So retracting back from that point, if you're not already in the position or you're a little bit fearful of going out into a new community, I would definitely recommend that you get over that fear and just step out there and see what happens. But maybe start looking at connecting with the people in your own life already. Think about the conversations that you want to have and the little things that have caused you to maybe become resentful or passive aggressive over time, the limiting beliefs, the past experiences that shape how you talk to people and shape why you're insecure or why you're so protective and why you have your walls up so much. And that stops people from being able to connect with you because you're not letting anyone in. Or on the opposite end, maybe you see someone who is in that position and you wish they would just open up a little bit more. Now, one thing to remember, like any other habit that you're trying to build in your life, any change that you're trying to make, is that you have to be consistent at this too. You can't just go to the one run club or go for the one class at the gym or have one conversation and expect everything to change, to expect that deeper connection with the people around you or strangers who will soon become friends and whatever else in your life. You've got to consistently do this. This is a thing that you do on a weekly basis for most people is what I would recommend. And that's also on the basis that I wasn't doing this in the past, but I've seen how substantially my life has changed now that I have 1-2 times a week where I'm literally getting around a bunch of other guys and we're hanging out, having a chat at the run club, we're doing the run, doing the breath work, having deeper conversations that you usually don't have with your week. You've just got to build up that frequency and make sure that you're getting it in as much as you can. It doesn't mean that you can't have time for yourself because a lot of us need that too, but I don't think that's the problem for a lot of guys out there who are suffering with mental health and that feeling of loneliness that will lead to depression and that will lead to more severe circumstances for a lot of men as time passes by and as they get older. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is that when you're actually taking a proactive approach to this, you do need to consider the way that you communicate to people. I've noticed within people in the past who are guys who are probably experiencing more of a lonelier life, that when you would talk to them, they would just want to talk about themselves the whole time. If anything is going to ruin how you communicate with someone, it is definitely being the person that just wants to talk about themselves all the time and you actually have no genuine interest or ability to actively listen to what the other person is saying. So one of the biggest tips that you're probably going to take away from this video if you're trying to work on relationships is sitting in the passenger seat and just listening to people, getting curious, asking them questions more, and being able to hold space. If someone in your life is struggling to open up to you, they need to feel like it's a safe space, and they need to feel like you're actually going to listen. Another thing that I may add on to this is that you can actually practice this if you do have someone close to you in your life. Practice active listening and repeat what they've said to them. Let them know that you're hearing what they're saying so you can affirm this. So whatever few things that they've said in the last few sentences, or whatever the challenge is that they're having at work, whatever it may be, let them feel heard by acknowledging it. All right, so you feel this way because this happened. Well, what do you think you would do to work on it? Start to work on that with them, and don't just try, if you're a guy, because I know we all do it, if you've got a missus, what do you usually do when she brings up a problem? Oh, here's how you fix it. Straight away, just go tell them what to do, because that's usually, as guys, what we want to do is just find a solution and not actually listen. We just want to tell them what to do, go fix the problem, because that makes us feel better. But when it comes to building relationships and deeper connections with people, you should be aiming to start to listen more than you're talking, and don't make a conversation just about you and how bad or how well everything in your life is going, because if you haven't noticed it already, and if you notice those characteristics within yourself, you're probably going to start to see that your relationships aren't as deep, or maybe aren't as fulfilling as you thought they were. All right, so the final thing that I want to delve into is that this idea of building connection and becoming a part of, or building your own, or building a community with other people, is that you've just got to take it one step at a time, like anything else, right? You can't expect dramatic changes to happen overnight. Sure enough, you can have a conversation and think, wow, I should have had that weeks, months, or years ago. Or you can have an experience or become a part of a community and have one really good experience, night, day, event, whatever it may have been, and think, oh wow, problems are sorted now. And then maybe you stop going. It's like the person who gets on a diet or goes to the gym, they get a bit of a result and they're like, oh, time to rest now. And then they start to notice that they relax again and the problem arises. They put the weight back on, or their fitness starts to deteriorate because they thought all the work was done. Like we mentioned before, guys, it's consistency, but it's one step at a time. So don't expect instant gratification and dramatic changes all the time or overnight. Now, before I well and truly wrap things up today, guys, I just want to express the importance of this in our life at this point and in our society. We have so many men struggling with their mental health. And it's not only that they're lonely, but even the ones that have all these people around them feel so alone because they can't have good conversations and actually address challenges and problems that they're having with their own mental health and mental well-being, because they either don't create that space for other people to be able to talk to them about that, or other people in their life haven't been talked to like that, or they don't create that space for them, that open space for them to start to talk about the issues that they're having. So it works both ways. It's always a two-way street. We need to make sure that we're proactively approaching this in our engagement with our community, or with a new community that we're trying to become a part of, if we're looking for more relatable people who are on a pathway that we also want to share with them. But we can't always just shift the blame and say other people are closed off, or other people don't want to listen to me, or we can't just say that our past experiences are going to shape our future choices. Oh, I got burnt this time and this person fucked me over. We've got to learn from it. And yes, we can still create our own boundaries and respect those, but you've still got to have that layer of openness to new relationships and deeper relationships with the people in your life at this point. All right, guys, that's it for today. I'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you for anyone who's supporting the podcast, giving it a view, giving it a download, sharing a comment. Obviously, this is going to be on YouTube and Spotify, so feel free to reach out to me on those channels. Or if you know me in person, feel free to have a chat. If you want to have that deeper layer of conversation, I'd be happy to have that with you. On the other hand, if you have me on social media, on Instagram at Coach Michael Stone, feel free to send me a message there, or at Daily Discomfort AU. If you're someone who's in the Brisbane area, close to the Newstead area, and you want to become a part of the Daily Discomfort Run Club, where we run 5K or walk if you're not up to the full 5K yet, we do breath work and we have some of these deeper discussions, and we also go for a coffee and some breakfast or a little sweet treat usually. feel free to come down. Again, you can send me a message on the Daily Discomfort AU page. The boys will welcome you with open arms, and it will feel like a good space for you to share what your challenges are. The thing is that it's not just about creating a comfortable setting for you to talk to, because it could be uncomfortable to discuss that with people that you've just met, but you'll probably notice that these people are quite warm. And on the other side of things, that if you mention your goals and what you're trying to work on at this point in time, we're going to bring that up with you from time to time and hold you accountable and challenge you with that, because we want to see you become the best version of yourself that you can be. Now that's enough for today, guys. Otherwise, I'll keep rambling on here. So I'll see you guys next time in episode 5 of the Daily Discomfort Podcast. See yous.